Trade speculation surrounding this Miami Heat team is never going to die down. It has actually skyrocketed in the last few days. We'll break down all the brand new information surrounding all-star level players that could possibly land in Miami in the next season or two. We'll break down all of that right now on this episode of Heat Digest. But first, remember to please subscribe to the channel if you're a part of the 80% who are currently watching this video who are not currently subscribed. We do appreciate all the love and support, so thank you guys so very much. But now let's get to it and break down the more fuel added to the Miami Heat trade speculation fire. That again, this fire seems like it is just continuing to grow and grow and grow. Now, for a quick backstory that's only going to take a few seconds, this entire offseason we have discussed trade speculation, whether it was about Miami Heat players currently on the roster or players that we could possibly see in the foreseeable future on this Miami Heat roster. Players like Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Terry Rozier, obviously for players actively on the roster, and then other players like Anthony Edwards during Team USA, other players like Giannis Antetokounmpo, and various other high-level players that we thought could possibly have landed in a Miami Heat jersey if Pat Riley and this Miami Heat organization really made a push to try to go out and get them due to the assets we have. Well, we didn't really make one of those big trades or one of those big transactions. Obviously, draft night was huge for this Miami Heat team, drafting Khalil Ware, Pelle Larsson, and then going out and getting a bunch of undrafted players to two-way contracts. Keyshawn Johnson, and the list goes on and on. That was a great night for us in the offseason, probably our best night, because the only other transactions we really made were acquiring Alec Burks, a good role player, not a great player, and then obviously extending Bam Adebayo, who's probably going to be our franchise cornerstone for years to come, which, again, no complaints. But again, no new additions to really push this team over the level or over the hump, and because of that, we are now dealing with more trade speculation about other key all-star players amongst and around the league. Now, shout out to NBA Central on Twitter, as that's who we're citing initially, saying the Miami Heat are, quote, intrigued by Giannis Antetokounmpo, Anthony Edwards, and De'Aaron Fox, per Brett Siegel NBA on Twitter, as they go on to quote this, or go on to quote him from this article, as it goes on to say, going after the best of the best is always the name of the game for the Heat, which is why nobody should be surprised to see Anthony Edwards, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and De'Aaron Fox be some of the names that the organization is intrigued by. And that's the end of the quote from the article that we're going to now break down, as this is insane. Obviously, we've broken down the Giannis Antetokounmpo reports and all the speculation that has been surrounding him and the Milwaukee Bucks organization over the last week or two, because obviously the Milwaukee Bucks aren't playing up the standard right now. They don't have Chris Middleton. He's been out with injury, but obviously they still have Bobby Portis, Lopez, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Damian Lillard, who just fought to get out of Portland and land, hopefully, in Miami, and he landed in Milwaukee, and things still are not going up to plan for this Milwaukee Bucks team, and it seems like Giannis is in a position where if they don't win and things really start to crash and burn, he could possibly force his way out of Milwaukee, and he would hope, as a based quote off of him, would hope to land in New York or in Miami. Again, we covered all this in previous Heat Digest videos, but again, to quickly recap, so this is not seeming like something relatively new. And then for Anthony Edwards, during Team USA, when Eric Spoelstra was one of the head coaches on that coaching staff, or an assistant coach on that coaching staff, if you will, amongst a bunch of other great coaches, and obviously the Avengers built squad that we had. Bam Adebayo was on that team, Eric Spoelstra was a coach on that team, and obviously Anthony Edwards was on that team as well, and he was just doing what Anthony Edwards does. And we heard other NBA analysts and sports writers suggest the idea of, hey, Eric Spoelstra's on the team. Bam Adebayo seems like he's really, really good friends with Anthony Edwards. It seems like there's a relationship there between the three of them. When are we going to see the rumors, the trade speculation? Obviously, that started another monsoon of trade speculation surrounding this Miami Heat team, possibly for Anthony Edwards. And now we have another double down in the sense of Giannis, Anthony Edwards, and now De'Aaron Fox are all in connection with this Miami Heat team. So we'll break down this article titled NBA Rumors, Heat Monitoring Giannis Antetokounmpo, Other Stars. And it goes on to say the Miami Heat are reportedly, quote, monitoring multiple NBA players, including Bucks superstar Giannis Antetokounmpo, written by Preston Byers just yesterday on November 8th. So let's get to it and break down a few of the quotes from this article that suggest the Miami Heat are looking to buy almost. It seems like we didn't do it all off season, and now we're in the middle of this, not the middle, but we're 8 games into this regular season, And obviously, the Heat have now lost 3 games in a row to 3 very good teams in the middle of a 6-game road stand. They need to be able to produce wins. And again, are we going to be able to do it with this roster? Are we going to be able to make a championship push with this roster? If the answer isn't yes, are we going to see Pat Riley make an aggressive push for a very big name star? So let's get to the article and break down these quotes. As it goes on to say, although the Heat are not in a much better spot in the standings at the moment, Miami, unlike Milwaukee, still has plenty of draft capital and young players to trade if necessary. And that's why the Heat, more so than most other teams, are actively, and I quote, monitoring Antetokounmpo, as well as numerous other star players around the league, according to Clutch Sports' Brett Siegel. Now, again, this is huge. The fact that we're even monitoring this, the fact that there's even an idea of, hey, if he's available, we're going to keep our eye on it and make sure that we're one of the first teams in line to possibly throw out a trade proposal, possibly be in connections and in talks with the Milwaukee Bucks to possibly acquire someone like Giannis. Giannis is a one-of-a-kind player. He is 7 feet tall, 6'11", 6'10", whatever you want to list him at. His wingspan is ridiculous. His ability to play both offense and defense is ridiculous. And again, he is a transcendent player. He can do so many different things at such a high level. He changes your organization's path instantly. And because of that, I'm not surprised to see someone like this Miami Heat team really looking to possibly go after someone like Giannis. Now, to continue through the article, it goes on to say, and I quote, going after the best of the best is always the name of the game for the Heat, which is why nobody should be surprised to see Anthony Edwards, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and De'Aaron Fox be some of the names that this organization is intrigued by, Siegel wrote. While none of these three All-Stars will be traded this season, all of them carry question marks about their immediate futures with their respective organizations. Now, before we get to the next quote from this article, I do have to suggest the idea that these are all very far long shots. There's no way around it. Giannis to even be traded this season, regardless of down the line, is crazy to even think about that because of how good and how impactful someone like Giannis is. I can only imagine what the trade package would have to look like to go out and get someone like Giannis, unless he applies some leverage to the Milwaukee Bucks situation and he really, really forces his way out of Milwaukee. If that's the case, I could see how the package could not be 4 draft picks, 4 players. But again, it's Giannis. I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up getting a king's ransom for Giannis Antetokounmpo. And again, for players like Anthony Edwards is not getting traded, at least not this year. If the organization goes through a bunch of hell and wildfire due to the Alex Rodriguez and the ownership situation in Minnesota, I could see how that could really push players like Anthony Edwards out of there to possibly look for a much cleaner and just mature organization, if you will. I feel like that's a crazy word to use in this sense because it is owning an NBA organization. You have to be mature to some extent. But the idea that they're going back and forth over the actual ownership and the money being paid for and the drama about it, could it force him out? Yes. Is it likely? I would say no. But again, I am all for Anthony Edwards in a Miami Heat jersey. You guys heard me say this back during Team USA basketball because of the relationship between him, Bam, and Eric Spoelstra and Bill Simmons, obviously planting the seed and planting the rumor, the comment, if you will, to when we will start seeing those rumors. So again, no surprise there. We'll go on to cite this last quote from this article, going on to say, and I quote, if things go south in Minnesota after dealing Karl Anthony Towns and all the ownership questions that exist, could Edwards seek new digs? Will Antetokounmpo ask out of Milwaukee if they fail to steer the ship in the right direction? And Fox potentially hits the open market after not agreeing to a new extension with Sacramento. These are situations that the Heat are monitoring and keep their options open for moving forward. Again, that's the end of the quote, and I really love just these 3 sentences here. It really wraps up all 3 situations very, very well. Again, we'll break down the contract situation for De'Aaron Fox. Right now, obviously, he was drafted in the same draft as Bam Adebayo. That draft class was absolutely loaded. De'Aaron Fox is now in his fourth season out of the 5 years that he'll be under contract for. Obviously, in that 6th year, he will become an unrestricted free agent, which means unless he agrees to a contract extension with the Sacramento Kings before that date, he will then be a free agent and in the open market. De'Aaron Fox, I've mentioned it before in a long ago in these Heat Digest videos. De'Aaron Fox is one of those players that fits the mold. He fits the caliber. He is one of the guys that could fit in Miami. Obviously, Giannis, I think, is probably out of the three guys we're discussing right now, in Giannis, Anthony Edwards, and De'Aaron Fox, I think Giannis is the odd man out in the sense of attitude, morale, just the way you carry yourself. I think De'Aaron Fox and Anthony Edwards would fit. Anthony Edwards above being one, then De'Aaron, and then Giannis in the sense of like the Heat culture fitting in and just being a mold of what this Miami Heat organization is really looking for in a player. I could definitely see it being Ant, then De'Aaron, and then Giannis, just due to the overall attitude and tone that they carry themselves with, either on or off the basketball floor. But again, there's no way around it. They're all elite level players, and I think De'Aaron Fox, being the starting point guard of the Miami Heat, would be absolutely fantastic. There's no way around it. But again, we would have to wait till the 2026-2020 season in order to go out and get someone like De'Aaron Fox if we were not to trade for De'Aaron. Obviously, if shit hits the fan in Sacramento and they realize with the roster they have currently built, it's not going to work. I would be surprised if the De'Aaron Fox was the piece they were looking to move and trade. I highly doubt it. But again, if he does make it to free agency, don't be surprised if Miami makes a massive push for someone like De'Aaron Fox, a quick guard with great defensive abilities and a great ability to facilitate the basketball and push the ball in transition. He fits beautifully with this Miami Heat team, regardless of what the roster is currently constructed of or is constructed of when he is brought in. Now, I didn't even bring up the the basketball contract for Anthony Edwards because there's no way he's being traded unless I can't even hypothetically think of a situation where he would be traded this year, next year, or the following year. He signed a 5-year deal for $280+ million. He's getting $42 million a year. He is the face of the league, not just the Minnesota Timberwolves, but of the NBA. He's the youngest piece with the best upside, and he's the most charismatic. He has the best character. There's no way around it. But again, if that dude ends up in a Miami Heat jersey, he will be my all-time favorite player, I think. I won't even rule it out. But again, for Giannis, getting back to the facts, he will have a player option in the 2027-2028 season. Again, if he decides to opt into that contract, he will then be paid $62 million and some change by the Milwaukee Bucks. And that will be the final year of his contract. Unless he's approached with a contract extension from the Milwaukee Bucks, he'll then become an unrestricted free agent in the 28-29 NBA season. Again, if there's no contract agreed upon before that date. And again, this is all assuming the idea that things go well for Milwaukee over the next 6 months and Giannis Antetokounmpo doesn't force his way out of Milwaukee as soon as this season. Again, I firmly believe this is still probably the biggest possibility for any of the three players we've mentioned in this video to possibly be moved. It is Giannis, without a doubt. Him playing alongside Damian Lillard, the biggest new addition for the Milwaukee Bucks in the last, since Giannis was acquired, if you will. But again, Dame chose Milwaukee because he couldn't get to Miami after attempting to get to Miami. And now it seems like Giannis is going to walk from Milwaukee in that partnership to then end up in Miami. Again, it's going to take a king's ransom. The only way Miami is going to do this is if they can, without a doubt, believe this current roster, as currently constructed, is not going to be able to get the job done this season. And based off the last three performances, it wouldn't be surprising if they end up going that route. Again, I'm not disbelieving in this Miami Heat team yet. I still am a firm believer we can make a large push into the playoffs this year with this current roster. But again, we have to be healthy. We have to be good. There's no way around it. And based off last night's loss, after we gave up 132 points to the Denver Nuggets, I don't know if we're going to be able to, because we are a defensive-minded team. We're not going to outscore teams 140-135. It's not going to happen. Last night we lost after scoring 122 points. It's not going to happen. But again, that'll be it for this episode of Heat Digest. Thank you guys for watching. Please let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this article and the entire idea of the Miami Heat being in connections with players like Anthony Edwards, De'Aaron Fox, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one.